Hello everyone, Joe Harrison here. You guys all know that Casey and I have been traveling the country doing martial arts and training it with so many different schools and instructors and teachers. But here we are, we're up here in Manchester, New Hampshire, and I wanted to show you guys this really great school that we found. It's called Critical Defense Institute. And this is a really remarkable, very unique place, and I just wanted to show you guys, so let's check it out. Rob?
Hey Joe.
How you doing, man? Good to see you again. All right, so this is Rob Tibbo. Rob, it's great to be here. We've already taken your defensive pistol courses. We've also been attending some classes, but I wanted to show everybody out there what's going on here. So if you could give us a kind of a walkthrough on what this place is, just give us a very brief history on it, but a walkthrough on each room and what you do here.
Sure.
So let's start wherever you want.
Awesome. So we started CDI back in 2011. And that was because there was to be honest, there was just a lack of real world firearms, not just firearms, but defensive tactics and pretty much real world self-defense training. So there was a big opportunity for us. So we decided to try to fill that
and what makes CDI or this place, Critical Defense Institute, different than, because we've seen so many schools now, from all the way from Key West all the way up here, and we've even seen schools that promote reality-based self-defense. But when I came here, I knew there was something way different. But in your opinion, what would you say is the most different than what you're doing here versus like some of the other reality-based schools?
Well, so we do we have a blended training curriculum here. And when I say blended, what I mean is there's really 3 different categories of training that we do that not every reality-based training facility does.
Okay.
If you're a Krav or you're a martial arts school, you tend to kind of just stay with that. If you're a firearm school, you kind of stay with that. What we've done is we've taken reality-based force-on-force training, simunitions, UTM, shock knife.
And you say simunitions, is that?
Yeah. So simunitions is a technology that is from General Dynamics Training and Tactical Systems down in Connecticut. They have technology that utilizes real guns that are converted to shoot a non-lethal training cartridge.
No kidding.
Yes.
So now, are you actually getting hit with something?
Yes, you are. So we're taking real guns, we're converting to shoot a non-lethal training cartridge, and we're putting you in real-life scenarios.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's kind of neat.
Okay. And then you said shock knife.
Yeah, so we use shock knife, we use red man gear, we use simunition. So essentially what we're doing is we're putting people through the most realistic training process that we possibly can.
Awesome.
So we're utilizing the reality-based force-on-force type training system along with your more traditional square range type training, where you're going out to the shooting range and you're putting live rounds down range. We have a range off-site that we use. We do all our privates, we do all our live fire training courses on that range.
Okay, so live fire obviously takes place at a gun range, while the simunition takes place here.
Yeah, we have a shoot house in here.
Okay, so we're going to actually take a look at this place, and Rob, if you don't mind showing us around, we can talk about this.
We'll start here. So this is one of our classrooms. So typically we teach about 230 classes a year. Those classes consist of everything from combatives or self-defense classes to firearms classes, active shooter courses,
so
tactical medicine.
You're able to do all of that from here, because that was probably the most unique thing that I've seen so far out of all these schools that we've seen, which has been quite a few.
Yeah, we have 5,500 square feet here, which
Okay.
is about 5,500 square feet less than I'd like to have. But we make it work.
Right.
But this is where we do all our classroom stuff.
Okay. So this is the educational
this is the,
part of.
Yeah, this is the PowerPoint side of things usually. We try to limit our class PowerPoint experience. We try to give people as much kinesthetic type training as we can.
Okay.
We're trying to keep it more hands-on if we can, but unfortunately, when we're talking about things like judicious use of force and things like that, yeah, we have to have PowerPoint.
Okay. So this has been a very useful part of the business then. This has been a very useful part of the training for the force on force.
Yeah, this is where we teach people what you can do and what you can't do.
Okay.
So this classroom will hold about 40 people to capacity, and then we have a backup projector and screen, and our system, our video system, will actually do simultaneous presentations at this. Or we could do the same class in multiple classrooms in the facility.
Okay.
So I can have a video screen, actually in another room,
Right.
and we can actually do a PowerPoint presentation in all the rooms.
Wow.
So we can put a lot of people in here.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
All right, so
this is our primary classroom. This is where we kind of do our overflow. You can see we have some red man suits on display in here.
can you tell us a little bit about the red man suits? Because they look like they look like really heavy duty sparring gear, but I know it's not. So if you can give us a little
that's
bit.
actually kind of what it is.
Okay.
It looks like the suits from Call of Duty or
They look
or
really
those kinds of things. Yeah. So what these suits are is these particular suits are by Redman. This particular one is their weapons defense suit. As you can see by all the soap that's all over it.
Right.
Simulations, people confuse simulations with being paintball. It's actually soap ball.
Oh wow.
But it's actually a soap. But this particular suit will take a Simunition FX round. It'll take a 9mm or a 5.56 caliber sim round. So
Okay.
it's a pretty neat suit. But with this, what we're trying to do is we're trying to get the student to experience what it's like to be in a full contact environment.
So here, people can not only shoot another person with a live round that's a sim round, but they can also get
Yeah.
shot.
Yeah, they can
Right.
get shot and they can
Yeah.
hit. So the type of training that we do, obviously, we don't put students in these suits. These are instructor suits.
Okay.
The students have them. I can show you after, but the
Sure.
students have a much more simple protective system. We do a lot of asymmetrical type training,
Okay.
meaning our students get to beat on us quite a bit.
Okay.
We don't get to beat on them so much.
I
We
see.
do enough to make it challenging for them,
Yeah.
but safety is our #1 concern. So they get to beat the tar out of the instructor in that suit.
Right.
And again, there's a lot of people out there that have never actually hit anybody in their life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this
It is.
gives them an experience to not only be in a situation where they're in immediate threat of death or grave bodily injury and they have to actually draw a gun from their body
Right.
and actually shoot somebody, but they may be in a situation where they may have to fight to get to that gun.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have never experienced punching or kicking.
So now this seems like it'd be a really good opportunity for a lot of the gun people, the people that like to carry, the people that want to carry concealed a firearm. This seems like a place where it's a really good opportunity to really learn the truth about concealed
Truth
carry.
about guns.
Yes.
Yeah, so what most people don't realize is the average gun altercation is very close proximity.
Okay.
According to the FBI, the average gun altercation in this country is between 6 and 7 feet.
Which
So
makes me
that's-
wonder why these guys are going to range and shooting.
Maybe shooting
like
at 20 yards?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean-
yeah, it kind of makes me wonder too.
Okay.
I mean, it's good to practice at those
Okay.
distances, but I mean, if you shoot somebody at those distances,
That's legally different than.
yeah, there could be some consequences involved with
Okay,
that. So
alright.
and that's another thing that we do here as well is, we have to really teach the liability side of this
Okay,
stuff.
so you are also going over that side.
Oh yes,
of it
that's the
big
first
time.
thing we teach people when they come in here.
Okay.
Is we teach them the entire force continuum and we teach them the liability involved
And this is all
carrying
done
a gun.
before they
in the
actually
classroom
get- Wow.
before we even do any hands-on.
Okay.
They understand the force continuum. They understand judicious use of force.
Okay.
They understand that you must be a reasonable and prudent person who is an immediate and otherwise underworld threat of death or grave bodily injury prior to
I see.
shooting.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people out there who like to say what they would do, and they have these fantasies about what would really happen. But so
Yeah.
far, since Casey and I have been here, my mind has not only changed, but it's been sort of enlightened about.
You understand reactionary gas.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, and you understand how violent and how quick things change.
Very quickly.
So it's this suit in conjunction with the Simunitions is really great and shock knife because like I said, allows us to go 100%.
Okay.
So full pressure,
Right.
very high pressure, 100% on the instructor.
Right.
On the instructor, that's important. The instructor's not 100% on the student.
Right.
We're here to make it challenging,
Right.
but we also want the student to walk out of here at the end of the day feeling
And still
really
be
good
able
about
to
them.
work. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But these suits are great.
Do you feel
We've
like
got a
that,
bunch of them.
Do you feel like that this type of training is greatly lacking or absent
Yes.
in the martial arts world. Not just the tactical and the.
I think it's more lacking in the firearms training world. I think
Okay.
there's a lot of people that seems to think that there's a disconnect between martial arts and firearms training, and
Okay.
and my background is martial arts.
Sure.
And then I've been teaching firearms. I've been a firearms instructor for quite a long time as well. So I've got this ability to kind of combine them.
Yeah, right.
But there's a big misconception that the gun is the end-all be-all tool.
It is a very big misconception.
And you took our classes and you realize how difficult sometimes it is to get
Yeah.
to that gun.
In fact, most of the time during the course, I probably only got to my gun literally a few times out of that whole course.
Yeah.
And that was a 5-day course, so that was another reason why I wanted to talk to everyone out there about what you're doing here, because when the reality hit me that I was only going to get to my gun just a few times in 5 days, it was a 5-day course, and each course was approximately, let's see, how many hours was
8
it?
hours.
8 hours.
Yeah.
Out of all that time, I probably only got to my gun 3 times. Because it was a better decision for me to go empty-handed than it was to get to the gun. It was just a better choice.
Yeah.
So
It's all about just using the appropriate. It's all about identifying the threat and then applying the appropriate threat response. And the threat
Gotcha.
response, what we have to teach too is that not every threat is a gun.
Correct.
Is a gun issue.
Right.
So if you went into our shoot house and every simulation was deadly force situation,
Okay.
then that's all you're going to be trained to do.
Okay.
So it's just the opposite. The majority of the scenarios that we do in our shoot house can be mitigated by a use of force other than deadly force.
I see.
Now, sometimes we can have that could be either way,
Okay.
but for the most part, we at least try to set up our scenarios so it's, if you're going in there and every single time, there's a guy coming at you with a crowbar or a knife, your instinct is going to be just to get to that gun.
Sure.
You're going to turn around with that gun in your hand and you're going to be ready to blast.
Right.
And that's not what we're trying to do here.
Okay.
We're trying to teach people how to identify the threat using pre-incident indicators, pre-contact cues, all the things that you should know how to use,
Okay.
and determine what the best use of force is in that particular
That's
situation.
really valuable, especially
So
for.
so not every threat has to be a deadly threat. It might be somebody up in your face, and you're setting up boundaries and you're forcing those boundaries. You're posturing. You're using good verbal communication skills. We call it verbal judo. We're trying to de-escalate.
I see.
You're issuing task direction. You may be issuing consequences along with lawful consequences with that task direction.
Right.
We're teaching you so much more than just drawing a gun and pressing the trigger.
Which is really important because nobody wants to draw the gun prematurely and
Well,
accidentally.
you found out what happened when you did
Exactly. That was a really startling moment. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I just realized I have so much more respect now for carrying a firearm than I did prior to being here. And
knowing what it's like to roll around on the floor with somebody
Oh, man,
with
that
a
was really
firearm
scary.
on your person.
very scary.
Knowing that at any point that person could discover that gun could fall out of the holster.
Yep.
And that's another extremely important thing for you to experience.
Right. So let's take a look at the
Sure.
rest of the place. Anywhere
Absolutely.
you want to take
Yeah,
us?
we'll start over here. So take you over here. This is our equipment wall. And this is what we use to set up our role players and our students, mostly our students. We have a whole other closet with similar stuff for our role players in there that's filled with all kinds of props and stuff like that. So usually this is how we outfit our students. So we've got inside the waistband holsters, which is what we work out of most of the time.
Okay.
Other than our law enforcement customers, for the most part, we're working inside the waistband or some type of concealment holster.
And I'm glad you said that because I noticed that right now a lot of promotions and things that are being done in the tactical world for concealed carry for civilians, they're actually training them on the outside.
Right.
They're training them to draw the gun from an outside carry.
First-
And I'm trying to figure out why are they doing that because
Yeah, first class we teach Defense Pistol 101.
Okay.
We'll teach you how to draw from strong side hip. We'll teach you the kind of the 5 steps.
so you
to
do
the
cover
draw.
both sides of that.
Yeah, we
Okay.
do, but we're not advocates of open carry. We're
Okay.
definitely advocates of concealed carry. But we use these circle holsters, and then we have these inside the waistband holsters.
Okay.
We're Glock people here. I find that there's more training options. It's not that I just drink Glock Kool-Aid. I think there's a lot of great guns out there. We don't subscribe to any one particular type of gun or brand. For us, it's, you know, what you're comfortable with.
I see.
Glock gives us an opportunity to, it gives us more training opportunities. They have more non-gun options, cert gun options, simunition gun options.
You do use the blue guns too.
Yeah,
because
so
that was something that.
Yeah, so we'll transition to the rings guns here. Yeah, we call them non-guns.
Okay.
I think I picked that up from the military. But the blue guns will allow us to work on things like drawing, grip. You know, we use them for a lot of things: weapons retention, weapons isolation stuff. So it's a really cool tool to have. They're relatively inexpensive. Right. These run anywhere between $60 and $70. So it's so it's an inexpensive option. What's nice about these is they do fit. Dimensionally, this is the exact same size as this particular one as a Glock 19. So I can grab a Glock 19 holster, and dimensionally it fits perfectly.
I see.
With
so you can really train that. I mean, if you
yeah, you could come in with a Glock holster, and my Glock non-guns will fit in your Glock holster.
That's really
so
nice.
That's really important.
Okay.
And then we could transition to these cert guns. The cert guns are kind of cool. We like them. They're not very robust for the commercial environment. Somehow we managed to keep them up and running. Next Level Training has been really good about giving us parts and stuff to keep our guns set up. These run anywhere between $250 and $400 depending on the model. So these tend to be a little bit pricier, but what's nice about these is the magazines are now capable of coming out, so we can practice, you know, indexing the magazine and such. And then these have a laser when we press.
Okay.
And we teach trigger press, so we teach how to press the trigger.
I was just
correctly.
about to ask you what was the purpose to the
Yeah,
laser?
so there's two. So we can use these as an indexing tool, so we can teach people how to index the gun to the target. But we also we can flick this switch on the top, and we can actually teach them press reset. So this, there's two lasers. One is a shot indicator that lets the instructor know when the student actually presses the trigger. And then there's another laser in there that's an indicator of when the student has their finger on the trigger. And then we can also set these up so that we can see as instructors if the student is letting off the creep, we call it creep, on the trigger. Basically, in short, we can tell whether the trigger's the student's resetting the trigger correctly or not.
That's really nice.
And so it's a good visual indicator.
You know, like I said, I mean, all through all of our travels, we haven't seen a place that's really taken it to this level or taken civilian self-defense this seriously. I was just excited to come in here and show everybody and show all you guys what Rob is doing here at CDI. And so far, it's been a great experience. So what else can you tell us about, like, the gear?
Yeah, so we have these crowbars and these Eskrima sticks that we use as bludgeons. We also have Shock Knife, which is kind of cool. Okay. This is marketed by a company called SetCan, and they're in Canada. Great group of guys and girls up there. As far as I know, at least we were at the time, we were the only civilian-based organization in North America that was certified to use Shock Knife.
So far, we haven't found anybody, so it's probably still true.
So these are pretty much restricted to Department of Defense, Department of Justice, or municipal state law enforcement. They're really neat. They're 7,500 volts, 3/4 of a milliamp of current, so it's not enough current to really hurt anybody. It's uncomfortable when you get hit. But it feels like you're being cut, actually. Yeah. So
I've had a few experiences of that. I mean, we used them when we did the courses here.
We love these.
I can definitely say that it's not a kind experience to feel the shock knife.
Yeah, so we use these. We use these a lot to trigger, you know, your sympathetic nervous system. Okay. So we'll use it to trigger your fight-flight mode. Okay. And start to get the adrenaline pounding.
So far, that's been a really valuable tool for your.
You know, we use the rubber training knives too, and they're great. But this just doesn't put a sense of urgency into somebody. I can understand that. You start to get complacent when you start training with these. It's not a big deal, so I got a little cut. With these, you just never really get used to getting hit with the shock knife. Yeah. So you stay, you don't get complacent with these.
Right.
So these are really, really great.
All right.
Great tools. We also use the Redman stuff. We use them in a lot of our force-on-force applications. We do a lot of force-on-target, where the student will have a firearm, and they might have a dynamic target like an instructor.
Okay.
But the instructor's not using a firearm. They're using a bludgeon, or they're using a contact weapon of some sort, whether it be a bludgeon or an edged weapon. We can use these Birds goggles, which are really excellent goggles. We've had really good luck with them. So we can use these Birds goggles in conjunction with the Redman and the Macho
It
gear.
seems like you can really go high impact, low risk with how you got it set up.
Yeah, these take a little bit of impact, not crazy, but again, because of the nature of the training, we're doing really very asymmetrical type training.
Okay.
So the instructor gets the brunt of it.
I see.
So this is
Okay.
this is more, we'll hit you around a little bit, but we don't need to knock you senseless to get the point across.
Okay.
Where we want you to knock the instructor senseless.
Yeah,
And I
and you
can
do
say
get
that
to, by the
because-
way, in the courses. So.
Yeah, and I can say that because I'm not the instructor in the seat.
Right.
So we'll use these Birds goggles in conjunction with the Macho or the Redman gear
Okay.
in a force-on-target application where the instructor's got a bludgeon or something like that, where there's no projectile.
I see.
Otherwise, we're into the simunition type gear,
Right.
which is great.
Okay.
So this is the gear that we use in our force-on-force, where we're using a force-on-force application, not a force-on-target application. So force-on-target would be student with a firearm against an instructor with a contact weapon.
Oh, okay.
Anytime where the student potentially is going to be shot or shot at, hopefully not shot,
Yeah.
okay? Then we have to get into full sim gear.
Okay. So now
That's
the
now a
student is getting-
force-on-force application.
Ah. Okay.
So here, what's happening, or force-on-force with a firearm, I should say. So, and when we're doing force-on-force, student firearm, instructor contact weapon, we can utilize the Redman gear with the goggles
Okay.
and that kind of stuff. When we go force-on-force, where the student may be in a gunfight type situation,
Okay.
we go with full sim gear. This includes a helmet that covers the entire head, neck protection, and groin protection.
Right.
And that's mandatory gear. That's if you want to do simunition training,
Right.
you have to be simunition certified, and you have to play along with the simunition guidelines.
I
And,
see.
and it's great. Force-on-force training can be inherently dangerous.
Yeah. I mean, it
So-
seems like there could be.
One of the reasons why simunitions is very, very picky on who they certify is because they want to make sure that all the precautions are being taken, and everybody's doing things the way they want it done.
Yeah.
And that's obviously,
And I would like to say that during our course here, when Casey and I were taking it, there was no time from the beginning to the end that we felt unsafe at all. We were nervous. We didn't know what was going to happen, and we were like, we're going to get shot, we're going to get stabbed, but we never felt like it was going to be unsafe or like we were going to get hurt or anything like that. But we definitely, the setup here definitely gives you a very real sense of urgency, and something's about to happen, and it's going to be dangerous. But at no point we felt unsafe.
yeah. So
it was-
safety, the three-tier check,
Right.
self-check, buddy check, instructor check.
Right.
Having a sterile training environment where there is no lethal weapons of any
I see.
kind in the training environment.
Yeah.
As you know, if you
So
had
it's
to-
not like just throwing
if you had
seats
to,
on.
if you had to leave the environment, you had to be searched again before
Okay.
you came back in.
Okay.
You
You
know,
don't
so
take no chances.
no
at all.
chances at all.
Okay,
We don't
I
allow
got
any
you.
outside
Okay.
weapons in the facility.
I see.
The entire training facility is sterilized before the training.
Okay.
We have a ton of training safety officers.
Yeah.
We do a 3-tier safety check on every person that comes into the sterilized training environment.
Okay.
So we do a self-check. There to check to make sure they don't have anything on our contraband list. That would be obviously any guns, ammunition, magazines,
Because
knives.
they might accidentally have.
They could just
something
they
on
might
them.
they might have something that they could deploy under stress. So we don't want any of that kind of stuff in the training environment. And then we do a buddy check. So you would check your buddy to make sure that,
Very
that he
thorough.
doesn't have any knives
Yep, right.
or guns or anything that's going to hurt anybody. And then prior to entering, you also have to be checked by a certified instructor.
Okay.
So
All right.
that's how we keep things
All right.
square.
Very cool.
So we have all kinds of other stuff. We have med kits and
Okay.
We do also teach tactical medicine here, and
Okay.
all kinds of other good stuff.
Alright,
So
so
we'll
you're-
step into the shoot house.
Sure.
So we built this before we built anything, and people ask why we built it the size we did.
I was actually curious about
Yeah,
that too.
it's we didn't want to go too crazy in size. We like it because it depicts what the average, 2-bedroom apartment might be.
Okay.
Anybody can operate in a big, open,
Yeah, because
spacious
you got
room.
room. Right.
So this is the foyer,
Okay.
or this is our prepping area. So
Right.
what we would do is we would bring you in.
I noticed that there's like a light right here.
Yeah, there is. So that's
Um,
our hot house light. So typically what happens is we bring the student in,
Yep.
close the doors. At that point, the student would get all their gear squared
Okay.
away. At that point, my officer in charge would ask for a safety sweep. The training safety officers in the house will go through all the role players, make sure all their gear is in place.
Okay.
Make sure their gear is in place. My weapons training safety officer out here that's arming the student, make sure that the student is all geared up before we hand them a firearm,
I see.
or before our role players are
Just so
able
that
to
there's
take
no
firearms up.
mistakes. There's just
Yeah,
no.
because we're not on a square range where one direction's safe.
Okay.
Where this is 360 degrees, so
I see.
yeah, so there isn't
Wow.
no down. Everywhere is downrange.
Right.
So we want to make sure before we issue any firearms that all the safety gear is in place in case we have some type of negligent discharge or something. We just don't want to take any chances. So
I see.
once all the training safety officers do their sweep,
Right.
our sweep is good. Our officer in charge will ask for a hot range. Training safety officer will make the
A lot
range
of
hot.
communication.
Yeah, oh
There's a lot
yeah.
of
He hits a little
communication.
button on a key fob. That light goes on. Nobody's to enter or leave the shoot house at that
Okay.
point.
I see.
And now it's safe to arm the student.
Wow.
We don't. Once the scenario is finished, we have to make sure that all the guns have been secured, that there aren't any guns out of holsters, or that there are no guns loose in the training environment before we can call a cold range. So our training safety officers will go ahead and confiscate
So
guns.
it's not
if
like
needed.
just enter the room, shoot, and leave.
Yeah,
you
no.
know.
So it depends on the course. If it's a more advanced course, we'll allow the students to keep an empty sim gun in a holster. But all the ammunition, all the magazines have to be secured, guns in holstered, or the guns actually have to be taken into custody from our weapons training safety officer.
Got it.
And then once all that has been policed, then the officer in charge will ask for a cold range. The officer or the training safety officers will then say, "Yep, everything's good to go. We can have a cold range." And at that moment, and only at that moment, are you allowed to pull any of that safety gear off.
Okay.
Yep. So it's
all
very
right.
regulated.
Very cool.
So this
Very
is
cool.
kind of the main portion of the shoot house. This would be your typical living room.
Okay. And it seems like you could really set this up any way you want. It could be a living room. It could be.
Yeah, next week we're doing active shooter training. All these walls will be collapsed, and we'll have cubicles with desks and computers and bookcases and
Wow.
all that kind of stuff in here. Yeah, that becomes a waiting room, and this or reception area, and then this becomes a mini office
Wow.
for our active shooter training.
I
Yeah.
mean, what inspired you to create this place? Because
Well-
I've never. The last time I saw a place like this was in Florida with an old friend of mine. He's gone now, but this is literally the only second time I've ever seen it. And the way you've got it set up here is at a much higher level. What inspired you to do this?
Well, we're trying to make it we're trying to give the student the most realistic environment we can.
Yeah.
And
Because I do notice that the whole realistic self-defense gets tossed around a lot, but you seem to be the only one that really said, okay, if we're going to use the term or phrase realistic self-defense, it needs to be realistic.
yeah, if it's reality-based training, it has to kind of
reality-based
it
training.
has to be as real as we can make it. So we have couches and chairs, and we have a TV that we put in. We take
Right.
it out sometimes when we're doing combatives in here. Sometimes
Okay.
sometimes we have a combatives floor that goes down in here.
Oh, okay.
So if
Like
we're
a
doing
padded floor.
yeah, padded floor.
Okay.
And then we take like this actually unscrews because we don't want any sharp objects or anything like that. So it kind of
Yeah.
we kind of kid-proof the room, and then so again, this room is pretty versatile. We've done PowerPoint. This has become a second or third classroom if we have multiple classes going on.
Oh, so you can use it's a multiple use.
Yeah, so
So
we
it
can
doesn't have
open,
to
these
be-
walls actually close, or they fold to the sides of the
Okay.
walls,
Okay.
and so we can make it one big massive room.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I noticed that there's some cameras up here.
Yeah, so Yeah, so every person that comes through the shoot house,
Yep.
when they're finished, we do an after action debrief with them or an after training debrief. Once they've been debriefed, they go back out into the classroom where we have that big 100-inch screen, and they can watch all the other students actually go through the shoot house.
Oh, wow, okay.
So we have cameras all over the
Okay.
shoot house so they can
gotcha.
actually see, because it's a really, really awesome training tool to be able to watch other people go through and maybe make the same mistakes that you make, maybe make different mistakes. You know, it's all about making mistakes. We learn by making mistakes. So it's really nice.
Well, I like
to
the
be able
fact
to
that you
see other
encourage
people.
that, because there's a lot of schools that I've noticed that don't really, you know, there are some, but there's also some that are not, that they don't really encourage that,
Mhm.
you know, that making mistakes is a good thing, and especially in today's world with the internet. I mean, you can make a mistake online, and,
Yeah.
everybody, you know, everybody knows about it. So
Yep.
this is great.
Yeah. So there's
okay.
our props closet in there. We have all kinds of all kinds of other props and blood mats and all kinds of stuff. This would be your typical bedroom kind of situation. A lot of times we'll start scenarios where you're laying in bed, lights off.
Okay.
You'll have a firearm in your safe. We promote good firearm safety.
Okay.
So you'll have a firearm in a safe. We'll have your cell phone on the side of the nightstand here.
Okay.
And we'll put a situation where somebody's breaking in your house. And, you know, we're going to advocate that you barricade and call the police and be ready for that person to come through the door. But a lot of times we'll actually put like a child in that bedroom. We have a corner bedroom in there
Okay.
where we'll say, all right, you have a child in there. Which
That kind of
forces-
changes things a little
Yeah,
bit.
because
That changes.
you know, any parent's going to want to go and secure that child. So it forces them to kind of get out there and interact with the person, the bad person.
And that can be a very emotional thing, you know, during the training that you do here, is to really make people realize that sometimes it's not just about your safety, it's about the safety of loved ones.
It's like when we do women's self-defense classes, you know, there's tons of women's self-defense classes that teach women self-defense, but what they don't realize is most women have some type of third-party liability with them.
Okay.
Their child, you know, for example, or children. So
Right.
the dynamics of the situation change greatly when, you know, it's different. I guess it's different when you're having to deal with somebody when you're alone versus when you have your 8 and 10-year-old with you.
Is that what you meant when you said earlier by situation dictates tactics?
Yeah.
Is that kind of what you were
So,
getting at?
you know, again, when we talk about disparity of force and use of force and those kinds of things, certainly those kinds of things play into that.
Okay.
So again, it's super easy to teach an individual person how to defend themselves. I would say it's super easy, but it's certainly a lot easier than when they have children with them.
Yeah.
What do they do with the children when all this other stuff is going on? So that's,
Right.
again, that's another thing that we address here that most other places don't.
That's really cool. Well, let's check the rest of it out.
All right, so we'll go to the armory next.
This is my favorite room, by the way.
So this is an interesting room. This is not a room that you typically see in a martial arts school, but this is where we do all our. This is where we keep all our training guns. So all the guns in these 6 or 5 safes in here are training guns. We use them specifically for training.
And can you tell me a little bit more about the training guns? Because I noticed that they're not. They're blue, but they still look like a real Glock.
Yes.
So
Yep. So this is a Glock 17T. This comes from Glock,
okay.
from the factory. This color and this configuration. This is set up to shoot only Simunition FX or Security Blank.
So I can't
rounds.
put a live ammo round in there.
The conversion that they do at the factory, both for Glock and if I were to use a Simunition conversion kit,
Yep.
precludes us from being able to load a conventional cartridge into this gun.
Yep.
However, with enough determination and ambition, I suppose anything would be possible.
Sure. But
You know, that's why we go through this.
you go through a
the
very
safety
very
steps that
intensive,
we do. Yeah.
Okay.
But no, to answer your question, it would be difficult for you to fire a conventional cartridge in this gun. For one, it's a 9mm cartridge, but it actually has a 30 caliber bore.
Okay.
So the projectile, it's a 9mm cartridge case, but
Can
the
you see
projectile itself is actually 30 caliber.
I see.
So if you were to try to chamber an actual 9mm cartridge in this gun,
Right.
the bullet would never go down the barrel. They would get stuck right in the very beginning. And then there's safety precautions inside the chamber of the gun to vent out excess pressure.
Okay.
So if you were to fire a gun, the bullet wouldn't. This gun with a conventional cartridge, the bullet wouldn't go through down the barrel, and all the excess gas, all the pressure would be vented out very quickly.
I see.
So again, smart thinking with General Dynamics.
Right.
That's why we use them. There's a lot of other competing brands out there, but General Dynamics they're the innovators. They're the guys that.
So basically, everything about this Glock is identical.
Everything.
To the
magazines. This is a standard Glock 17 magazine. The only difference is the floor plate is blue versus black.
Okay.
So we can order conventional 17 round Glock magazines, and then I can order these blue floor plates. Blue signifies training. So anything that has blue is training.
I see.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Any training gun, any gun that's been converted to shoot simunitions. I'll give you an example of that. I have a SIG 229 right here. This SIG 229 has been converted to shoot. It's been converted to shoot simunitions as a simunition conversion barrel.
Okay.
We mark that gun immediately upon converting it with a blue tape to designate it as a training gun.
So that you can identify.
Yeah, because normally this is a 40 caliber Glock or a 40 caliber SIG.
Gotcha.
So once we convert this back to 40 Smith & Wesson, this blue tape comes off.
Okay.
Yeah, so blue
and that's why you
signifies
have a separate safe.
Yes.
That's just dedicated for the training guns. Right.
Yeah, so blue signifies training.
Okay.
So here's a SIG magazine, for example,
Right.
that where we painted the floor plate blue. This magazine only gets used for training. This is a 9mm AR-15 magazine that we use that has the tape on it, and then this is actually a 9. This fires a 9mm Simunition FX round.
Wow. Okay.
We use this a lot in our active shooter trainings.
That's a first that I've seen. I mean, I'm sure there's probably other people out there doing it, but this is definitely a first for me.
Yep.
So.
And then we could take regular ARs, AR-15 type weapon systems, and we can also convert them over to shoot a 5.56 caliber simunition round.
So it seems like there's almost no limitation to what
it's pretty neat stuff. We're lucky to be able to use it.
Very, yeah.
Because we're one of the only training facilities around that actually. We're the only civilian training facility around that actually is.
Would you encourage that this type of model starts to get out there? You know, that more people start to get involved with training this way and teaching this way and getting more involved with, simunitions.
Yeah, if they get the right people in play,
for
sure. I mean, I wouldn't recommend just your average run-of-the-mill martial arts instructor. First of all, your average run-of-the-mill martial arts instructor is not going to be able to get this stuff.
No.
It's restricted to military law enforcement instructors.
That was actually my next question.
Yeah,
so you have to.
So it's not something that you can say, hey, you know what, I think I want to do some munitions. Call General Dynamics and say, hey, can you send me some simunition stuff? It doesn't work that way.
Okay. It's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
It's probably a good thing. So okay.
Yeah, so this is some of our sim stuff.
So obviously in this room you do a lot of your own, what other kind of classes do you do?
So we do armorers classes, like this is a rifle that I just recently built. It's chambered in 6.5 Creedmoor. So we do a lot of armorers courses, so rifle build classes. I'm a Glock armorer.
Okay.
I'm a Smith & Wesson armorer. I'm a Colt armorer. So I'll do a lot of armor type courses, build courses. So I'll bring in a bunch of parts and we'll build a bunch of guns. At the end of the day, in the beginning of the day, we get a box with a bunch of parts. At the end of the day, we got a bunch of rifles.
You obviously feel that it's really important for people that if you're going to be a gun person, a gun owner, carrier, whatever, that it's insanely important to be well educated about those firearms.
We also do reloading. In here, this is all my production reloading gear. I shoot approximately 1,000 rounds a week.
Okay.
So these, I do all my personal loading for my personal use on these machines here.
Okay.
One's set up for rifle, one is set up for 9mm.
Okay.
So 223, 9mm. So that's where I do all my production. These presses, I can make a lot of ammo for fairly quickly with those presses. This area right here is for precision loading. This is where we teach. This is where I load all my precision ammunition. It's done on a single stage press. This is the stuff where we're putting holes in holes at very long distances.
Okay.
So I teach a precision reloading course as well as a basic reloading course. So basic reloading course we teach on the Dillon progressive presses and the RCBS single stage.
Okay.
The precision stuff we teach on more in this area.
And is this something that's been able to, or have you, how can I ask this? Like, does this get a lot of attention, at least in this community or in this state? Because I've always wondered, like down there in Florida, where Casey and I are from, like I said, I haven't seen too much of this down. I'm sure it exists, but does this seem to get a lot of attention being more of a northern state? You know, do you think that really has nothing to do with it?
We're kind of, New Hampshire, Maine, and Vermont are kind of in a weird, we're in the very kind of tippity part of New England. New England's kind of split in half.
Okay.
Where you have we're kind of more in the conservative part of New England.
Okay.
We live in the live free or die state, so
Okay.
there's a lot of libertarian type mentality here.
Okay.
We're very much a pro-gun state. We're a constitutional carry state.
Right.
So, you know, we do have a fair amount of gun people in this state. Massachusetts would be like the opposite. Connecticut, Massachusetts.
Okay. So there is a difference there.
Rhode Island. There's
okay.
a whole different mindset there. It's kind of like the northern southern hemisphere. We live in the northern,
so depending on where
libertarian type
okay.
part of New England, where Massachusetts South is kind of the more less gun type people.
I see. All right.
But this isn't a huge part of the business. It's I teach a few classes a year. Mostly it's just an excuse for me to
right.
to have all kinds of fun toys.
It's a great excuse, man.
Yeah.
So let's check out the
Sure.
the other part of the facility here. You said about how many square feet is this? 5,000?
About 5,500 all said and done.
Okay. So we're gonna head out to the training area
floor,
here.
yeah. So this is our training floor. We do all our defensive all our defensive tactics, our combatives, women's self-defense classes out here. It's small, but it works for us.
So when you what takes place? I mean, obviously I know what takes place out here, but what happens out here differently than what's going on in there? You know, I mean, are you doing more? Is this more traditional martial arts out here? Or is this more?
No, this is combatives.
It's combatives. Okay.
Combatives. So we do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. We do a lot of ground fighting in here.
Okay.
I have my background is combat taekwondo, hapkido.
Okay.
But we don't do a whole lot. We do some hapkido. We do a lot of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. We just do primal gross motor stuff.
Okay.
We
so
keep it simple.
Get to the point type stuff.
Yeah.
Just stuff
Throw
really
punch. That's my favorite thing in the whole world.
Okay. And you also you have a women's self-defense class, and then you have like a co-ed self-defense class. So can you tell us about those two classes?
Well, we have a women's self-defense class that focuses on just kind of the very, very much just the nuts and bolts. Keep everything very simple for the women that just want to come in and just learn very basic self-defense.
Okay.
And we do that because there's more of a need for that.
Sure.
And then we have directly after that we have a combatives class for men and women.
Okay.
That gets a little bit more involved.
Okay.
So it's a little bit higher speed. We integrate contact weapons and firearms in that class as well.
Okay, so you're actually able to use this whole room, and if you want, you could also use that room during these classes.
Yeah, there'll be times where I'll say, all right, everybody keep their street clothes on. We're going to go in the shoot house. We're going to do some gun stuff.
Right.
Or we're going to do contact weapon defense tonight.
So here you actually do encourage people to train in their street clothes, to come in with whatever they're going to wear and figure out how they're going to move in regular clothing, especially in a northern state where you're wearing like layers, jeans or snow pants or whatever.
There are some stuff we'll do like the jiu-jitsu pants.
Okay.
Or the dobak or gi bottoms or whatever. And because we're doing a lot of conditioning and that kind of stuff. But there are times when I'll say, okay, everybody just keep your street clothes on.
Right.
And we'll do similar stuff, but in street clothes.
It's a lot different, I can tell you that for sure.
It is.
Moving around in a gi and moving around in northern layered clothing.
Yeah. Century doesn't make those gusseted Chuck Norris pants anymore.
You're right.
So
right.
that nobody ever wore.
Right.
But
all right, so
so this is where we do all our combatives.
if somebody wanted to find out more about CDI, do you have a website?
Yeah, so www.training@cdi.com.
Okay.
We're also on Facebook, Critical Defense Institute -CDI.
Okay.
And we're on Instagram. I know there's a link from, I don't know what my Instagram
But it's all on the website.
But it's all on the website,
Okay.
and it's on the Facebook page.
Okay, great. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the tour of CDI. We're going to be continuing our travels throughout the country. We're very honored to stop by and see Rob and take his classes and get a chance to see what he's got going on here. So stay tuned for our next school. And Rob, thanks again, man.
Hey, thanks, Joe.
Appreciate it, man.
Thanks,
see you
Jason.
guys next time.